Hello everyone, welcome back once again to my YouTube channel. So recently Australia had toured Sri Lanka for the T20I series, and then now they played a 5-match one-day series. And what an amazing contest it was between these two cricketing nations. And first of all, Sri Lanka was going through an economic crisis and the whole country was struggling, and during that time Australia had toured, and everyone was really thanking the Australian cricket team and as well as the Australian cricket board. So let's have a recap of what happened exactly in the 5-match ODI series. So in the first game, Australia versus Sri Lanka batted first and they scored 300 runs for the loss of 7 wickets after the end of 50 overs. And after that, some rain spells truncated the game and the revised target for Australia was around 280 odd runs. So Australia was struggling at some point of time, but then Maxwell 51 ball 80 run knock with 6 fours and 6 sixes that sealed the game for Australia, and they won the first game by 2 wickets. So coming to the second one-day international, Sri Lanka batted first and they scored 220 runs. And after that, again some rain interruptions. The revised score was 216 runs to be scored in 43 overs, but some brilliant bowling by the Sri Lankan bowlers ensured that Australia do not cross over the finish line, and they were all out for just 189 runs. So eventually Sri Lanka won the second ODI by 26 runs and the series was leveled at 1-all. And now coming to the third one-day international. So this time Australia batted first and they scored 291 runs for the loss of 6 wickets after the end of 50 overs. And Sri Lanka, they started quite cautiously, but eventually Pathum Nissanka, he scored a brilliant 100, scoring 137 runs for Sri Lanka and ensured that they cross over the finish line with 9 balls to spare. So eventually Sri Lanka won the third one-day international by 6 wickets, and that gives them a lead of 2-1 in this 5-match ODI series. So now coming to the fourth one-day international at the R. Premdasa Stadium, Sri Lanka versus Australia, and in the first inning Sri Lanka scored 258 runs in 49 overs at the back of a brilliant 100 from Charit Asalanka scoring 110 runs. So Australia were given a target of 259 runs, and David Warner, he scored a brilliant innings and fell short of a well-deserved century by just 1 run as he went out for 99. But then eventually the rest of the Australian batsmen could not hold their guard and wickets kept falling in clusters, and eventually Australia folded their innings on 254, falling short of the target by just 4 runs. And so with this victory, Sri Lanka becomes the first team ever in 30 years to beat Australia on their home soil in a one-day series. And that too in such a turmoil when the country is facing an economic crisis. Like, it gave lots of smiles to the Sri Lankan people all around the country. And now coming to the fifth one-day international. It was a dead rubber, but still Sri Lanka batted first and they were bowled out for 160, and eventually Australia chased down this target quite comfortably and they had won the final game of this ODI leg of this Australia tour to Sri Lanka. And so with this, Sri Lanka won the series 3-2, and that too after 30 years in ODI history. And so at the end of the series, Kushal Mendis was declared the player of the series, and yes, Dasun Shanaka the Sri Lankan captain, was really delighted to win the series on the home soil against the Aussies after 30 years. And there were a lot of accolades from all around the cricketing globe that yes, Sri Lanka really made their country and the whole nation proud by winning this ODI series against Australia. And not to forget, after the end of the fifth one-day international, the whole stadium turned yellow from blue as everyone was thanking the Australian team for visiting their country during this economic crisis and bringing smiles to the people all around the Sri Lankan nation. That's it from now. Thanks for your time. Thanks for watching.